Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself a nice brick suburban house. And you can see, very stylized after English architecture. We have some trees, a neighborhood wall in case it's built too close to the road, very simple design there. But of course, we have some trees, and we have a completed interior. If we go around on the inside, nice green walls, and a bunch of little details here and there to make sure your build does not get boring. We also have some landscape and a garage to make sure that fits in even in American neighborhoods. So without further ado, let's investigate how we'd go about building this. Alright, to begin, of course, you need an entire city. Okay, well, if you don't have a city, you can still start by just making yourself a small road in order to lead up to it. Of course, this is more of a suburban house, which means it fits more with neighborhoods and simpler builds like these. So of course, keep that in mind. Now let's start with the driveway. And of course, you should try to keep it consistent with nearby builds. Starting from the sidewalk, by the way, smooth stone slabs, we can count maybe about 7-8 blocks. And I'd say that's a good amount. So count 7 or 8 blocks in order to get to your garage. And the garage is very simple. We're going to be using some light gray concrete and alternating it with some pale signs like this. And if you're trying to do it faster, then you can use Control plus middle click in order to create a version that does not open up a GUI. So if you're on Java, hooray. Let's build our garage real quick, and then we're going to need to build a framing for the house. What are we going to do for the shape? And naturally, this should be made in bricks. And additionally, for these bricks, we also need to make sure that they're 2 blocks thick if we're going to have recessed windows. Something like this, you can see, okay, yeah, that looks like a decent amount of room. Well, how about this? We go in, and we also have these walls. We have to worry about the interior walls as well. Every wall is going to be 2 blocks thick. Let's take this as an example. If we're going to make our house maybe like this size, of course, please don't. Then we're going to have to outline the walls on the inside like this, and suddenly we lost a lot of interior space. Build under the idea that you're probably going to run out of space. That way, you might actually have enough space to not run out. But yeah, let's just make a shape, and do not make it a square or a basic rectangle. Let's make it kind of unique. We can see for this house, we have a main rectangle, and then we have a unique roof that we added on later. This porch, a little extension here, another extension there. We need to make sure it is not a square. Squares are boring. From above, we can see I've kind of blatantly contradicted my own advice. Hooray! We have a basic rectangle, and we have the garage, which is, of course, a basic rectangle. There's not really much you can do with it. However, still, there's a lot we can make with the rectangle, because if you just make a box for a build, it gets kind of boring. See those apartments over there? That was a long time ago. They don't look the best anymore. But we can see we have some very fancy windows that stick out by 1 block. This is why we want those very thick walls. With those, we can actually have a different interior and even try fancy things like this. And you can see how the window has all of these stairs, these pale trap doors, and even a small roof with deep slate tiles on top of it. So it looks a lot more regal and special. And we want this to be symmetrical. Of course, yeah, you don't have to do that, but generally I'm going for a more British vibe with this build. So I'm going to try sticking with that. But yeah, if we have these giant fancy windows, it really adds a ton to the build, especially if you have some symmetry. Let's thicken up these walls and make them go up to maybe like 12 blocks. Think about the height of your build. If you have double thick floors, do you want 4 or 5 block interiors, stuff like that. And then on the corners, make it out of smooth quartz. We'll add some pale wood signs using the same method we used to build the garage door, and then that will add a ton to the build as well, because it'll have little stones on the corners, kind of like you see on a lot of fancy houses. Now, we have ourselves a lot of the walls, and let's go step by step. For the entrance, I added the door. Notice how it's surrounded with a different block and almost like a window in of itself. That way, it looks a lot more grand. I mean, imagine this door, and then imagine if we were to just do a door like this. Yeah, that would be really boring. So instead, that's why we do the big door. Then we have these big windows, I already talked about them, but on either side, we have some smooth quartz acting as the corners. And as a result, it's going for that style, you know what I'm talking about. And we have to add some pale signs. That way they act as little coins, official term. And yeah, so we have the building itself. It's taller. We have a big window above here, another small roof. So that way this little door is looking much cooler. And then we should add a path up to it. You can make it the same as a sidewalk, or you can use different blocks. And then around it, we should add some landscape. If you're wondering what you should do, well, we have another suburban house. You can incorporate resin on various leaves. Firefly bushes are good, wildflowers. Podzol makes a good choice. You can also incorporate various redstone components. You can do a whole bunch of things. Feel free to look up stuff if you want to figure out what you want to do specifically. And additionally, don't forget, you can place down a tree. Now, we have a bit of landscape. And you can see, it seems like a lot, but it's actually not. So let's start left to right. Right here, we have some bushes on either side of the driveway. Notice how it's dark oak leaves, or really oak leaves. They look virtually identical, besides a little bit different shading. And then some pale oak, and some glow lichen to make sure they blend together. And yay, this would resemble a silver buttonwood pictured here. Then, for these, I just have some bushes, and the ground is a nice lace pattern of tuff over some coarse dirt to make sure that this doesn't spread. By the way, added walls to this neighborhood. If you're building multiple of these together, I'd recommend adding a wall. Nothing too complex though, it's just tileable. But now, we have those, we have some checkerboard patterns of various flowers, we have sweet berries, some double talls, a little bit of acacia surrounding the windows and door, and finally, we have a tree, very small. It's basically a little thing of oak going up, and then a blob of leaves. Notice the spruce on it to make it a little bit more 3D rather than an actually generated tree. And then we also have a little bit of terracotta to look like some sort of flowers or fruit. So yay, we have something going on. For the door, I incorporated some logs, and if we open it, by the way, mud here, yay, just green. So this is a little bit of an issue. We have to figure out where the windows are going to go though, which means start digging out some of the areas. Remember, your walls are double thick. Since on this side we have the wall, we are not going to have any windows here, or at least not on the first floor. On the second floor, we have free reign. But on the back, we could have it, but generally, you want to avoid putting them on the first floor if there's walls surrounding your build, because they'd be kind of useless. The second floor got some windows, and I plan to add the rest later. For now, we have to worry about the roof, because if we have the roof, well, it just looks presentable, and I want to put out a teaser tonight. So anyways, let's go to the top, and we can see here how we have this little window here in the center, and then the ones on either side. Very basic. They also have some planter boxes for the side ones, and then more of the signs on these corners. We also have these arches going above, and we're going to have some slabs going up and down like we have here on the garage. This roof is probably going to end up something like this, very simplistic. And over here, we also have that going around, the arches, basic stuff. And then we have deep slate tiles, and here's our pattern. We go up a block, and then we do stairs. And we're going to have a flat roof at the very top like this, very simple. But then for the part that sticks out right here, notice how only the bottom floors actually stick out for the side ones. Then we have a little triangle made of stairs. That way we can put something behind it, maybe some pale, things that would just work. Make sure to blend everything together and add some stairs right here in order to make sure that there's a transition from nothing then to the side of the building, and finally we have the roof. Do this all around, and we can also add small windows called dormers. If we put a small window here, and then one here, and then do some on the sides, it would look very charming. So let's do that. With that roof in place, including its smaller baby brother for the garage, this thing is really coming together. And we also see how we have this little triangle here again, and now it has some diorite, and also a fake window. Finally, there's one very big thing, and I'm of course going to include text earlier in the video reminding you, please make sure that there's enough room between your windows. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Always make sure there's 4 blocks. I put 3 and I wasn't able to finish my floors, and thus the build was unable to be completed. So I had to move the whole thing up 1. be very careful about that. But anyways, now we actually have the house. We have some windows that we can fill in, add the cute little things, flower boxes and such, add a door back here, stuff like that. And of course, we also need a fireplace, which means this window probably doesn't work here. We should probably put one on either side. But still, of course, mark your fireplace. I'm going to do it like that. I want the kitchen to be right here because when you come in from the garage, oh look, you made dinner? Yay. So we want that. For the bottoms of our walls, notice the double thicks. We can actually just do the lime terracotta for the walls, wrap some smooth quartz on the ceiling, and then let's get ourselves some white concrete or snow, either one works in this case, and some sea lanterns in order to give it that nice modern aesthetic. Of course, you can see the difference between the colors. Which one do you want? I think I'm going to go with snow. So, sea lanterns, and now we have lighting. Let's do this all throughout. Make sure there's very good lighting. Maybe a light every 3 blocks or so, because let's turn it to normal. And we can see how by the time it reaches the bottom, it gets kind of dark. So we're going to have to be very careful about that. It's a big downside of having large windows. And now, let's do all that through, paint the walls how we want to, divide the rooms, maybe even grab a piece of paper in real life and draw out a floor plan. Like right here can be our master bedroom. Our front door is there, the garage. Let's have the kitchen be right there. And the living room can be in the back. Tell me where the stairs are. Maybe the stairs are on this side because there's nothing able to be put here. And then coordinate your bedrooms, your bathrooms, stuff like that. And then once you have a dedicated floor plan, we can continue. And if you're having trouble figuring out what do I need in the house, walk around your own house and take notes. Where are the closets? Where are the bathrooms? Where are the bedrooms? Where's the stairs? Do you have a pantry? Stuff like that. Now I have a little bit of interior done, and you can see it's really coming together, so let's go inside. And it's nothing crazy yet, but still. Kitchen, we have our painting here, which is just family photo, 2 cabinets, 2 more cabinets but larger, the fridge, the sink, dishwasher. Notice the use of tripwire hooks throughout this build, especially for these giant doors here to separate the house to make it look more interesting, even if it serves 0 practical purpose. Then we have stoves here. Notice we have some detector rails, a pantry because I ran out of closet room. Yeah, scale in this game is kind of ridiculous. Every block is a meter. And then we have this painting, definitely not a little creepy considering we can jump through it. And then we have a bathroom, very unfinished, missing some stuff. We need to fix the ceiling. But anyways, ignoring those issues for now, or I can just fix them on camera. Then we go through here and we have the rest of the house. Notice the not crown molding, just the little pieces down here. I changed it to pale, looked better. And then we have a couch. We can actually hide some banners under here, like this, in order to just give a little bit of an illusion that there's, a nice couch. Make sure to light up the blocks where the banners are in order to make sure that they actually look good. And then we have very simplistic stairs. Notice how they go up. We need to shave out a little bit more. We do not want it to hit your head down. So like this, we have enough leeway. We can go up and down while sprinting. And, well, we have a second floor, nothing here yet. We need to continue dividing the places, and then we need our windows, things like that. And then I'll show you what I've come up with for our individual rooms. Now, we have ourselves the interior. Not for the garage though, that's for last. And if we go in, we can see we have a bunch of nice things in here. Of course, I already talked about the kitchen. So we have a little bookcase here, and when we go into the bathroom, notice we have the nice dentist painting, a toilet. If you're wondering how I got this water, it's actually just an armor stand with a diamond helmet shoved over using some water and then using pistons to shove the blocks into it. It's a little bit complex for just a toilet, but oh well. Then I hide some sea lanterns behind all these paintings to make sure it's nice and well lit, even though the ceilings are way too far away. So we have all that going for us. Then we have these extraneous doors here. They look completely awesome, so they exist. Then we have our nice couch. No carpet in here besides this central one. Notice it does have a pattern. It's completely random though. Don't bother trying to copy it. And you can see we also have the nice little Wiimote sensor up here because that's the kind of house we have. And then we also have a bird feeder right here with a excessively large bird bath. But now the TV, note blocks on either side to act as speakers, big fireplace, lots of paintings, fake door, a little bit dark right here, but there wasn't really anything to add. Then as we go up, more sea lanterns hidden behind all these paintings. So we have all that going for us. And in order to make sure that our new walls up here, which are just quartz and birch, are interesting, I added excessive amounts of buttons. Yeah, some people are going to absolutely freak out from this and press every single one. They are not hooked up to anything. But anyways, here's our master bedroom, and we can see it's very nice. We have a diamond block as a trophy, which is conveniently aligned to the center right here. That was actually unintentional. I guess I'm becoming a building creature rather than building person. But now we also have a little bit of snow here, and you can see how the snow is just a little love seat, stuff like that. And then our dresser, just some buttons on planks. We also have the bathroom here. Notice how the walls are slightly different because these are wet walls, which means they are not going to get destroyed by water. Cabinets, 3 mirrors, and we also have the toilet again, except I wasn't about to repeat the same procedure. Missing that. And also, we have a nice pressure plate. This is a scale. Let's see what it says. Never again. But anyways, now we have all of that, and then we have another bedroom, very similar to the last one, except it has a few more plants in it. So hooray! We now have a build, by the way, shoved off the corners, so it's a little bit more rounded in here. But this is now completed. I still have to fix a few minor details like these trapdoors, but now we have to worry about some other stuff, because you know, this channel is all about worrying. We go into the garage, it has nothing in it. Pretty much, it's just a garage. We can go in here in another suburban house to see roughly what we could do. Garage door opener, maybe some tools on the wall, grill, boxes, whatnot. And of course, keep it well lit. And then we go around back. We don't have a direct entrance to here. Potentially, we could have added a door right here in order to get outside. I might actually do that. And then back here, let's have a little bit of a nice patio. We can get wool. Let's alternate between black and white stripes. We can use carpet on strings in order to make it go a little bit down towards the edge, stuff like that. And then we'll have some nice mud bricks around, plant some stuff, whatnot. And then make sure, let's have a nice fence dividing the property line. And once we have all that done, our build should be complete. Right here, you can't see any of the changes I made because they're all in the garage or on the backside. So let's look at them. The garage, I didn't put very much in it, but still very nice. We have a garage door opener. Notice the ultra frog light to have that nice dusty feel in here. Along with that, we have a little bit of tuff and andesite on the ground combined with stone in order to make it look like a car's been here. Put the tuff where you'd normally put a car. Because I made this garage about 6 blocks wide, unfortunately, the cars would look really awkward in it. And besides, that could be a separate tutorial. And then we have a nice tool rack here with a bunch of tools. What did you expect? And we have some trapdoors in order to make it look like we have some shelves full of nails, screws, whatnot. Then we go around back. Notice our nice spruce fence. We have more trees, some bushes, acacia with resin on it. Already talked about the bird stuff. But we also have some moss interlaced into the ground. Some of it's a little messed up because I tried bone mealing the place, but oh well. And we have some nice flowers here and there. Along with that, we have that covered area, the patio, and it's striped. Notice the string holding it up. And then we have some chairs, a table, whatnot. Not terribly interesting, but we also have some pots and more plants in the corner, so it's a backyard certainly. And then I finally added the chimney, unlit. You should put some unlit campfires in the top if you plan to ever light it. But yeah, it's a really nice house, and you can see we also have a gate if you have a wall nearby, so that way you can get in, of course, hypothetically. This is not survival friendly in the slightest. You have a crafting table, and that's about it. And if you are not content with just a smoker, yeah, you aren't getting far in this house, although you could definitely modify it to fit in. And you can see, very nice, fits into neighborhoods. You can put it with other suburban houses, and if there's an annoying clock tower in the back, you can always just fire an arrow at it and get rid of it. So that's nice. So hooray, we now have a nice brick house, and it looks nice in British neighborhoods. Along with that, you can try detailing with some stairs to make it look like there's been some wear and tear. Personally, I didn't particularly like that idea. And also, we had too many stuff in the way, so we couldn't even do it anyways. But yeah, Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember to please like and subscribe. You know, I'm trying to grow the channel. It's been very slow. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.